Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to a new video. Today is going to be a DIY storage system build. So what I'm doing is I'm working on building a system to hold all of our seasonal totes in our carport. Right now, that is our new storage space because, as you know, the two sheds that we have had in our backyard have been torn down and now we're waiting for our new building. And that's probably gonna take a while. It's been a way longer process than I expected, to be completely transparent. But in the meantime, we gotta do something because the carport looks horrendous. Everything, like, oh my gosh, it looks so bad. And every time I got there, I just feel so overwhelmed by all the stuff. So I'm gonna do my best today to build this system, work on decluttering, putting everything in the black and yellow totes that you can buy from Lowe's. I already have a whole bunch of them, but I need a couple more because right now we have a lot of stuff that's kind of just sitting on shelves. So that's the plan for today's video. I hope you enjoy. Alright, so here's an overview of how the carport looks. I know, it's bad, but we're going to fix this up. So first thing is making a trip to Lowe's. I was on the hunt for 2x4s and 2x2s, 2x3s. 2x3s, that's what it is. But unfortunately the 2x3s were in really rough shape, so I ended up just using all 2x4s. But here's the 2x3s, and what you can't see from this video is that in the center on the other side of them, a lot of them were cracked all the way down, and I was worried that they were going to split as soon as I put a screw through, and trying to use those to hold up heavy totes just wasn't a great idea. So I decided to go with all 2x4s, and I grabbed 16 while I was here, and I ended up having to make another trip and getting a lot more 2x4s. I totally underestimated how many I would need. I ended up using a total of 36, and I had 2x4s left over, so I guess technically I only needed 34, but I grabbed 36 total, just so you guys know. I also had to grab a few more of these totes, but while I was down this aisle, I wanted to take a look at some of the cabinets that they had for outdoors. I definitely wanted to replace one of the cabinets I have out there for something that was gonna last in the weather. So I came over here and took a look, and these were really overpriced, and I ended up ordering a metal cabinet on Amazon. I'll link it below. I will be sharing that in part 2 of this little video. This is a big video. I had a lot of footage to share. This was a huge project. I feel like I made it look like it was quick and easy, but it took me 2 full days. So now back at home, I'm going to go ahead and unload all the 2x4s, and I just utilized the totes that I just purchased to lay them out on, so that way I didn't have to bend all the way over to the ground. Work smarter, not harder, ladies. Now is a perfect time to mention what exactly I am doing and kind of explain it a little bit better. So the plan is to make a DIY tote storage rack, and as you can see here, Build to Make It is a YouTube channel that I actually watched his video a few times to get a general idea of what I needed to do, and then I did end up having to customize mine a little bit in order to make it sturdy enough to put it on wheels and make it freestanding, because mine is not attached to the wall or the ground. Now, if you are just putting this in a garage and you plan on attaching it to the floor, this would be a great video to follow, and he also has free plans in his description box, so I'll link his video below so you can go check it out. There was also a couple other plans that I saw over on Pinterest if you want to check those out as well. All you gotta do is get on Pinterest or just Google how to build a DIY tote storage rack, and you will see lots of free plans that you can follow. I definitely don't want to try to take credit for any of this. I did not come up with this idea. I am just simply DIYing an idea that was already out there. Okay, so I have a total of 16 2x4s. There's only 14 out right now. I have 2 more in the back of my truck, but those are going to be for bracing. So I just got the 10 2x4s laid out that I'm going to cut to 6 foot. All 4 of these are going to stay 8 foot. And then over here, I have exterior screws. I also have some of these number 9 1.5 inch structural screws. I'm going to use these to attach the casters onto, and I got 6 of these so that way I can have, you know, mobile storage. I can wheel it around if I need to, and it also has brakes on it, so if I don't want it to roll around, you just press the brake down with your foot. It's kind of hard to do with your hand, but you understand what I'm trying to say. I ended up getting the little tape measure. How cute is that? It's like a little keychain, so I can keep that on my key ring. If I ever find something, I can measure it. I love this. This is so cute. That'd be a great like little stocking stuffer for, you know, a lady that you know that likes to do DIYs. You're gonna need a speed square, a marker, tape measure, some type of saw. You can use a skill saw or a miter chop saw like I have, and also a drill. Okay, we're gonna get started with the first step. Is going to be cutting all these boards down to 6 foot. Now, like I told y'all, I am a visual type of girl, and at this point I was trying to figure out how many totes I could get on this 6 foot height. So I could only get 4, so I ended up doing 4 slots, 4 totes stacked up, so a total of 16 totes will fit on my rack, but you can do whatever measurement you want. And then I went in and was trying to figure out the spacing for the frame. Now, at this point, I should have probably been following this guy's plan, but I told y'all I am a hands-on type of person. I'm a wing it type of girl, so that's exactly what I was doing. I laid out the tote lids, and I took my measuring tape, and I just marked where the frame was going to sit, and then where the 2x4 would go attached to the frame, and that's where the tote would sit on top of. As the video goes on, you'll see more of what I'm talking about. So the spacing here in between my frame, so the 2x4 to 2x4 frame, is 22.25, and then when I add the 2x4 on the inside of that frame, that's what the tote will sit on, that spacing should be 17.5. It'll give plenty of room for the tote, the lid of the tote, to sit on that 2x4 and still have a little bit of wiggle room on top. So here I'm just marking with my speed square where the 2x4 frame is going to go. So whenever I start putting the frame together, you'll see what I'm talking about. I utilize these lines as my guide on where these need to go to make sure everything is nice and level and straight. And then I'm going to use those 2x4s that were left over from that 6 foot cut. So they were cut down to 2 foot. And I'm actually going to use those as the center of my base. And that's what's going to kind of make that base a little bit more sturdy. So I am going to drill some pocket holes in here using my Craig jig and my Craftsman drill, and just going to go ahead and pop some pocket holes in, and I will start attaching the frame together. Alright, so here's the fun part where everything starts to come together. I'm now attaching those 6 foot 2x4s to the base, and I'm using 3-inch outdoor exterior, that is the same thing, Carrie. What are you talking about? the exterior screws straight from the bottom of the base into that 2x4. Now, you could have totally cut or drilled in pocket holes to each of these, but nobody has time for that, so I'm going straight from one 2x4 into the next. Okay, so I got most of the frame done at this point. Whew, it's a lot of work. I already made a mistake. I should have did all the lines this way before I put it all together. What was I thinking? It's fine, it's fine. It'll all work out. But yeah, sometimes you just mess up. But I'm using these 2x4s here, I don't know if you can see that, as just a little help to help hold this 2x4 across the top so I can screw it in by myself without needing any help. At this point, I did run out of 2x4s for the shelving, basically, where the totes are going to sit on. So I went ahead and moved on to adding the casters to the bottom. I picked mine up from Lowe's. These were $15 each. I know it was not cheap, but I wanted to make sure to get some really good heavy-duty ones so that way they would hold the weight of everything that's going to be in the totes along with all the weight of the 2x4s. And here's just a reminder of the screws that I purchased to attach the casters to the 2x4s. Alright, so I wanted to show you something I'm adding to my build that is making it a lot more sturdy that I haven't seen anybody else do. So what I did was I took some like scrap 2x4 that I had, I cut some 45-degree angles, and I'm placing it here so it's more sturdy, because without it, let me show you. Without it, see how it wobbles? Even with lots of screws? With it, it won't do that. Quick little update. I am back at Lowe's. Yesterday I worked on building the frame of the storage shelf and it's going really good. I just ran out of wood. I only bought 16 2x4s, which I thought was going to be plenty, but it was not. I still need quite a bit, but I'm kind of glad I didn't buy too many because I'm going to do 2x2s as like the shelves for where the containers are going to sit on. So that's what I'm going to use instead, just so it's a little bit cheaper and it's easier to work with. It's smaller wood, it's not as heavy. So that's the game plan. But while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and grab a couple more 2x4s for bracing. That was something that nobody shared in any of the videos I watched, and then I posted on Instagram about it. Someone was like, well, it's probably because they're anchoring it to the wall. But I went back and there was a couple videos I watched where they were either anchoring it straight to the floor or to the ceiling, or they had it on wheels and there was no support bracing at all. And so I don't know what kind of wood they're using or what kind of screws they're using, but mine was not sturdy. It was like wobbly. So I started putting bracing on and it helped a lot. It's not the prettiest thing on the outside, but my plan is to actually close it in on the sides and the back. And I will explain why in just a little bit, like if I get to that point today, which I probably won't in this video. But what I kind of want to do is make it to where it can almost serve as a wall if needed. You'll see what I'm talking about when I get to that point, like I said. But anyway, I got a coffee this morning. I'm gonna run in here and grab some of my 2x2s and get busy before it gets too hot. I will say though, it's not as hot as it was yesterday. At least it feels that way. It's not as muggy. Yesterday was miserable. I'm back home now and I'm going to go ahead and unload another 16 2x4s. I was going to use 2x3s, but when I got to Lowe's on this morning, I realized that the 2x3s were really bad. I think I mentioned that earlier in the video. They were split horribly and I didn't feel like they were going to be strong enough to hold the weight of my totes. So I went ahead and ended up going with just the whole thing is built out of 2x4s. So what I did was I cut my 2x4s for the totes to sit on to 31 inches wide. I didn't have to go any further than that as long as it fit in between the frame and I could screw it in with at least 2 screws on each board. I was good to go. So I took my level and made a little guide so that way I didn't have to keep using the tape measure over and over again. And I just went through and cut a bunch of these boards down to 31 inches. And here we go, y'all. We're about to jam out to my favorite song here on epidemicsound.com. It's called Play On by Duplex Heart.
So where does it come from? A scene that keeps playing on repeat, ignores the rule of thumb. Oh, where does it come from? Oh, where does it come from? All your emotions with your heart on your sleeve, it won't fade until you paint it black. Just look at the state we're in. I breathe you in and I can tell where I end and you begin. Where I end and you begin.
I highly recommend putting the brakes on your wheels if you did decide to put wheels on yours. Here I was just risking it all, pushing and pulling at the same time. All I had to do was lock the wheels and it wouldn't be moving around so much, but you know, I don't know, I was just in my own little zone. But I'm using my level. I am also, as I add the 2 boards, I'm making sure that the totes are level just to be safe, you know, to always check your work and make sure that things are level and that they're gonna fit. And I checked each one as I went. It only took a second to just pop the tote in there. And then here I am just gonna go ahead and prep some screws. It was a lot easier to have these already kind of set in place. That way I didn't have to hold them and try to level out everything. They were just ready to go. I could just hit it with the drill and boom, she was in place. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all these screws started and then I will just work on finishing up adding all of the 2x4s to my storage rack. I would say this would be a heck of a lot easier if you had 2 people, if you had an extra set of hands, but this is definitely doable by yourself. I always try to encourage you ladies, if you want something and you don't want to wait for help, you can do it yourself. I'm telling you, I am self-taught DIYer over here, okay? For the longest time, I would always ask my husband, hey, can we do this? Hey, can we do that? And I would wait until he was able to help me. And my husband works a full-time job outside of the house. He doesn't always want to come home and do projects. Will he? Yes. But sometimes I have to wait in order to, get him at the right time. And the truth is, sometimes when he gets home from work, he's freaking tired. He's been out in the heat all day. He's had a rough day. He's dealt with all kinds of different homeowners. Last thing he wants to do is hear me complain or talk about, hey, I need this done, and start pointing fingers and bossing him around. Not that I do that, but sometimes I do. But my point is, I don't always want to wait for somebody to help me. I like to be independent. I love help, but I also love to do things by myself, and that's where the DIY came in. I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn how to do this myself. Once I learned how to use a saw, it was game over. At that point, I knew how to use a drill. I could somewhat use a tape measure and measure things out. I know how to use the level, all the things. All I needed to do was figure out how to cut wood, and once you get over that fear of, using a chop saw or a skill saw, you are unstoppable. I'm telling you, you won't need no help ever again. You will have everything done yourself, and that feels great. So I'm encouraging you today, that shelf that you have sitting in your corner, that picture that you never hung, go get it. Go get your husband's drill and some screws, but be careful. Don't hit no water lines or electrical. Pay attention to where you're putting it into the wall. And get that picture hung, get that shelf hung by yourself. And when your husband comes home, you tell him, look what I did, babe. I got this hung up by myself. Because I'm telling you, he's going to be proud of you. He's going to be so proud. And I'm going to be proud of you because I know you can do it. Okay, so as you can see, I'm just taking some 2x4s, cutting them at 45-degree angles to make sure that it's sturdy this way so it doesn't wiggle. I'm going to do the same thing down here, and I'm going to do the same thing at the top. When you pull this little trigger and slide it to 45. I already cut this side, so now I'm going to flip it over. Take this board that I just cut and use it as a guide. The storage system is done. It looks great. I just took these 3 out so I could finish up adding some extra screws, so that way it'll hold a lot of weight. But it turned out so good. It rolls really well. I did just add these little triangles at the bottom just for looks because I didn't like the way the single 2x4 looked at the bottom, and I think once it's all painted it's gonna look a lot better. But what I'm most excited about is getting all of this mess cleaned up. I also ordered myself a nice big like cabinet for out here, a metal cabinet, so that way I won't have this wooden cabinet out here. This worked, temporarily. I bought this from Facebook Marketplace, but it was just meant for a temporary solution. So I'm really excited to get an actual work cabinet and get all this mess cleaned up. We have so much stuff from like the 2 sheds, and all of this is like my seasonal decor. And then we have a lot of stuff that's not in bins too that I'm gonna try to condense down, and hopefully everything will fit on this one shelf. Now, it wouldn't be a video of mine if I didn't paint something, okay? So we're gonna paint all of this black. I feel like it's gonna look a heck of a lot better. It'll look a little bit more seamless. I feel like, I don't know, everything painted black just looks better. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one that thinks that. But listen, I don't know why, when I watched this video back, I thought to myself, girl, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you painting a million different directions in a different, like, what? Ugh. I'm so happy that it turned out okay, because I started on one end and then I just started like patch painting. I don't know. My mind when I paint is just in a million places. I'm like, ooh, I need to paint this. Ooh, let me come over here and start painting this. It's like I get bored as I'm painting with certain areas and I just jump around. Also, whenever I went into Lowe's and I got the paint, all I did was walk in and let the guy know that I needed a gallon of exterior paint. I didn't want the most expensive one, but I didn't want the cheapest. I always usually get the middle one. And I got just black in a satin finish. So that is what I ended up getting. I don't know the actual code or anything like that, but this black is like the most perfect black. I need to look at the label and see what he ended up giving me because it was perfection. Once I got the entire shelf painted black, I am now going to go ahead and add some really thin plywood to the back. Now this step is completely unnecessary. You do not have to do this. I wanted to do this only because when I do wheel my cart around, I wanted the backside to not be all exposed with all the, framework that I did, because I did just use scrap wood to do that. So it wasn't all like perfect looking. Not that it had to be, it's just out in the carport, it's no big deal. But I did decide to close mine in with thin plywood. So this is optional, you don't have to, but I am. Also, another reason why I wanted to close it in was because on the sides, whenever you look at it from like the front of the carport, I wanted it to be closed in just so it looked a little bit nicer, like, more like a built-in shelf. And not only that, I ended up adding a shelf to it to hold like drills and my tape measure and stuff like that, just as like a little added bonus to make it a little bit more functional. Now, please don't get mad, but that will not be in this video. You will not get to see the entire finished project, only because I ended up stopping what I was working on and moving on to another project, because that's just how my brain works. I jump from project to project, but I ended up decluttering the carport and I didn't finish the storage system. So I kind of wheeled it to the side, I decluttered, finished working on a couple other things, and then I finished it off with trim and paint and added the shelf. So all of that will be in part 2, so please make sure you're subscribed, come back for that. But we'll go ahead and finish up what I could in this video, and I hope you guys enjoy seeing the whole process. Once we got that last thin piece of plywood on that side, I then worked for the next couple hours at decluttering and organizing all the stuff you see here in the background. So I had 16 total totes that fit on my storage rack, and that was all I was keeping. So if it didn't fit in one of those totes, and if it didn't have a home, it had to go. And I ended up giving a ton of stuff away. I ended up putting a ton of stuff by the road that got picked up. I went through everything I had and did my absolute best to condense it down and declutter, and I still am gonna have to do it again. That's okay though. I got rid of so much, and I feel like I made amazing progress. And it feels great. It feels so good to have this done, because it is something that has been lingering and bothering me. Every time I pull into the yard, I just see this chaos, and I'm just, oh my gosh. It's just a reminder that my shed's not here yet. It's also a reminder that, oh my gosh, you have so much work to do. And now that it's done, oh my God, I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders, seriously.
I set out on a road that I built with my own two hands. I met friends on the way, people chosen to make a stand. I felt strong in the sun as I walked onto path. this together as phases in between. And I'll be with you through the night. And I'll turn every wrong to right. Baby, we're children of summer. We're meant to be free. Honey, we're not like the others. No reason to be. And my ventures, they brought me to places I've never been. But you can walk through this world without a few punches upon your chin. I think I lost you somewhere between 20 and 23. But I still hold you dear despite the heartbreak you caused in me. 'Cause you were with me through my nights. And you filled the darkness with shining lights, yeah. Baby, we're children of summer. We're meant to be free. Honey, we're not like the others. No reason to be. Lady is far in our lungs, so it's too hard to breathe. Lover, I live for the day you and I turn to we. I still think of you now, though my
I still have a ton of stuff to go through, and I will be sharing the rest of the carport clean out along with me finishing up the storage shelves in my next video. Unfortunately, my computer is maxed out with storage at this moment, so as much as I'd love to share all of it in this video, I don't have enough space. So please come back for part 2. I will share a little overview of what the storage shelf looks like at this point. And thank you guys so much for hanging out and watching. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye, y'all.